So, hello everyone. It's always exciting to see who will turn up to play with Squirrel with me. So it's really lovely to see you here. And I thought about doing something like tuning into the 54, but then I actually sort of felt more to deepen our relationship with Squirrel. Now, not everyone will have started Squirrel, but don't worry about that because you can dive in today. And also the invitation with the writing, this is a creative space. So when we're in the space together, you can really do whatever your intuition calls you to. And it might be art, it might be writing. And in which case you can just be here and ignore my kind of guidance and prompts and just be in the creative space and in the dream arc. Okay, so let's begin with an attunement into the dream arc. So gently closing our eyes, resting our hands on our lap, feeling our feet or our bottom on the floor, depending on how you're sitting. Just taking a few deep breaths together to arrive fully here in the space. And I want us to invite us to imagine that we are living in two realities simultaneously, possibly much more than that. But our left brain sees things in quite a linear way, the past, the present, the future. It likes to be able to define what things are. And it's this left brain in the last few hundred years which has created our world of systems, banks, care. So it's created both really positive and problematic things. But as we reach into this time of great change, I feel all of us here tangibly feel this mutation into right-brained way of being. And the right brain is a spiral rather than a linear. It's holographic. It sees the patterns in things. And it's much more able to take a holistic view of things and enter into a timeless place. And this timeless place is the dreaming arc or the dream arc. And we meet the animals in this dream arc in a kind of vertical, we have a vertical kind of consciousness and they have a horizontal consciousness. And we meet in this incredible place of imagination and dreaming. So this is a space, an opportunity to let go of all the constraints, perhaps that you were educated with, that you grew up with, what you can and can't do with writing, with imagining, and to really allow your imagination to stretch out into the infinite universe. And then in that stretching out, to use your intuition, your feeling body, to draw in the quintessence of what is calling to you right now. And if you've shown up here, Hopefully you have this beautiful connection with the little squirrel. There's so many of them. Sometimes we don't even look at them, and yet they're such a special, special little creature. One among thousands, millions of species that Mother Earth has created in her infinite diversity. So with that spirit of celebration, coming back and opening our eyes when we feel ready. And this kind of opening and closing eyes, we move between the outer and the inner. So it's instantaneous as we open and close the eyes. So just be really conscious of that as well, and how we might use that movement in and out today in our writing. If we get a bit stuck, for example, we might just go in for a while, or if we're stuck in, we could go out for a while and see if there's anything around us that prompts us or inspires us. I can see some of you are outside, and that's great. Okay, so what we're going to do is this process I use to write poetry, which is a version of something I read years ago in Mary Oliver wrote a book on how to write poetry. It's a really fantastic little book. And one of the things she does is this kind of finding the essence or the quintessence of the poem. And just as I said that, the lifeboat, the tiny little orange lifeboat, went across the sea there. So interesting, it's orange because squirrels are kind of orange too. It was like almost like a streaking squirrel going past. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So some of you have done this before with me, where we begin with 16 words and we whittle them down to one word, which is the quintessence of our poem or story. And today, our relationship with the squirrel. We're trying to, in this exercise, we're going into the subconscious, really. We're drawing out from the subconscious, from the intuition. What is this kind of single point? Okay, so in order to begin our 16 words, I'm going to read the squirrel oracle from the Dream Arc. So for those of you who may not know much about the Dream Arc, it's the newest program from the Gene Keys, and it very much moves from the kind of numbers and the book and all of that, which is amazing, into a much more right-brained dreaming thing, and the teachings contained within it are kind of mind-bending and incredibly inspiring. And I don't think anyone could dive into this. I wouldn't even call it a course, because it's more like a way that you powerfully switch on this more right-brained way of thinking. And I mean, I've always thought like that anyway. I've always been really into animals. So for me, it's like an intensification and a confirmation that how I've always been is absolutely perfect as well. So I'm not weird at all. So, yeah, so that's what the dream arc is. It is a course you have to buy, but if you're on Soul Tribe, we'll be sharing, I'll be sharing the resources. If you do at any point decide to buy it, it costs $300. It's quite a substantial, amazing thing. It is definitely worth $300. And if you do decide to buy it, please consider using my affiliate link, which is in the tribe, because I will get percentage of it. But you don't need it for what we're going to be doing. So the squirrel falls in the category of journeyers. The life key is faith in humanity. Each of the gene keys has 3 animals. The salamander here is sort of from the reptile, amphibian, insect kingdom. And then there's a mammal, and then there's a bird. And the bird for this one is the nuthatch. Okay, so get your pens and papers out. I'm going to read this quite slowly, like more slowly than I would read normally. And I'm going to write down my words as I go as well. So put a number next to them, makes it easier, 1 to 16. And any words that kind of jump out at you that just feel they have a resonance for you. They may repel you or they may inspire you, but there's an energy that you feel in the words. So I am squirrel. I come to remind you of the wonder of being human. Perhaps you have lost some of your faith in humanity. You humans sometimes forget how beautiful you are. You tend to bring a great unnecessary focus on the few bad examples of people and behavior. Instead of realizing that the vast percentage of human beings have welcoming hearts and are engaged in daily activities that serve the whole. It is true that you carry great wounds within you from all that has passed, but you also carry great beauties within you from all your moments of simple love and sweetness. Consider then the great tenderness of all the mothers and fathers around the world. Consider the unseen millions who smile each day or who laugh or sing. Right now, as you read these words, millions of human beings are laughing and crying. This is the human world. I am squirrel. I move energy from the base to the sublime. I offer this service to you, for it is what you are most in need of right now. Do not isolate yourself from suffering or bliss, but dive equally through both and bring them closer to each other. I am a journeyer. Go out into your life and swim in the opposites equally. Where is your life imbalanced? Develop as many sides to your life as you can. Beware of being one-sided. The more sides you show to life, the more compassion you will bring to bear. Let your journey with me take us into territory that is unfamiliar to you. Open yourself up to new human experiences. I am at home on the ground. I am at home halfway up the tree, and I am at home flying through the air. Can you move so effortlessly and choicelessly through the realms of this beautiful world? Can you travel from the outer to the inner without a blink? Can you be mystical in the most mundane of situations? Can you span the great paradoxes of your life, of existence itself? Can you love and embrace death? Can you love rain and shine? Can you embrace health and ill health as adventures in your journey? Can you see the utter wonder of the uncertainty of the human world? Can you see and feel and know that above all, love is the only constant in all of existence? Let this be your journey. Okay, so now I'm going to read from the influences. The mythic influences. Teutonic. In the Nordic myths, the squirrel, Ratatosk, was sacred to Wotan and lived in the world tree Istragil, moving as a messenger between the serpent at the bottom and the eagle at the top. Yggdrasil, that's how you say it. I love that name, the Nordic tree. The Celtic. Celtic Queen Meb was depicted with a squirrel and a bird. In North America, the squirrel was an important symbol governing the activities of human survival through careful planning. To the Mayan, the squirrel was a sacrificial animal. To the Amazonian, the indigenous peoples of the Amazon saw the squirrel as a fire animal and as a manifestation of the master of animals. It's interesting. Okay, the meaning. The squirrel is an unusual figure symbolizing the qualities of humanity and mortality. The squirrel gets its symbolic power in various ways. Because it travels vertically up and down tree trunks, it has long been seen as a bridging creature linking the worlds of sky and earth, just as humankind is. The squirrel is also well known for its habit of storing nuts up over the winter, which alludes to humans gathering up their many rich experiences over the course of their lives in order to live off them. This is a symbol that has to do with living a rich and full life, a life balanced between the physical and the spiritual, grounded and at the same time sacred. For the people of this symbol, experience is more important than any future goal or plan, and the squirrel is a master of adaptation to all manner of environments and experience. This symbol also includes the flying squirrels who have adapted to the environment by growing a membrane that allows them to glide for considerable distances. Ooh, I like that. Okay, and then finally we get to the contemplation. Nothing can wound a healed heart. That's very short and simple. Okay, so just spend a moment just getting your, if you haven't got 16 words, if you can just think of words about squirrel that describe squirrel to make up your 15. You could also add words about the 36, which leads as the shadow of turbulence and the gift of humanity and the city of compassion. Okay, so most of us here, I'm going to come out of scroll now. Most of us here have done this exercise before. So I've got my 16 words down here. And what I'm going to do is go to words 1 and 2. So my first word is wonder, and my second word is faith. And when I think of those two words together, it's like I look up at the sky. So I'm going to put look to the sky. I know it's not one word, but so that's what I want you to do is look at your first word and your second word and make an association between the two, just very spontaneously, and come up with a third word or phrase. And then we're going to do that for words 3 and 4, then 5 and 6, etc. So that from 16 words, we are now going to have 8 words. And then from your 8, come down to 4, from 4 to 2, and 2 to 1. Okay, so if you can just write in the chat or give me a thumbs up or something when everyone's complete with that. Give it a bit more time. You complete, Kristen? You still at work there? Oh, you are. Okay. Okay, so let's have a little share. I'll pause the recording while we're sharing our process because this one will go on YouTube. So I'll pause it for the moment. For my Okay, so I'll just share also. I mean, I had a lot of the same words as you guys, obviously, because we're reading from the Squirrel Oracle. So my last four, which was how I got this one was quite interesting, was look within. And my previous two were look to the sky and superficial, which was like, if you're looking to the sky, it's not out there, it's in the air. So that's what took me to look within. And then my other ones were heart, rebirth, and refugee. So look within and heart took me to oasis, and rebirth and refugee took me to peace. And then oasis and peace took me to water springs, which is interesting because I'm sitting here and there's like the sea, and then there's something called the Lizard Peninsula over there. And Adam found this book. It's just like a little pamphlet that shows this peninsula as a lion. And at the heart of it is this place where there's 5 springs. And the woman describes the sacred geometry as like a 6-pointed star with a dove in the middle of it. And I feel really drawn to go there because we don't have a car. It's actually you can't actually get there and back in one day, even though it's like there. So we're waiting for the summer when we can camp over there. But that just feels like a calling to that place. And I think water springs, they are sacred places, aren't they? So another insight I had while we were talking and this going through Squirrel was I just spontaneously at the beginning talked about this thing where we have this vertical consciousness and the animals have horizontal consciousness, which I believe was one of Ra Uru Hu's teachings from human design. It just kind of popped into my head and I said it. But what strikes me is Squirrel goes up and down that vertical axis with us humans. So that's quite interesting, almost like Squirrel is a bridge animal between the horizontal and the vertical plane, in which the tree of life, kind of bridges those planes of reality, I guess. And then thinking about the 6-point of star with a dove inside, again, it's like heaven meeting earth, and our daily practice that we're doing with the hummy hum brahm hum, like meeting heaven and earth. So that feels like an important sort of background theme going on. Okay, so I came up with some questions. As I say, if these questions don't resonate with you, then just write whatever you would like to write about squirrel or anything you like, really. Um, right, where are my questions? Okay, I'll say it a couple of times and then I'll write it in the chat. Once upon a time, Squirrel invited me into a journey, and this is how it all started. So, once upon a time, Squirrel invited me into a journey, and this is how it all started. Dot, dot, dot. Okay, so give us about 15 minutes on this one. Okay, so I'm going to type. So I'm going to shut my camera, but I am right here. Okay, so here's another prompt for you if you want it. I'm just going to spend around, say, 10 minutes on this one and finishing what you're doing now. So the prompt is, what I love about squirrels' being and qualities is or are. Okay, so that will take us to around 5 past 5. So the final prompt I'm going to offer is how is squirrel a mirror of you? So we'll take another 10 minutes. We'll take us up to 1:15, and then we can have a nice kind of long sharing on that. Okay, so if you can let me know with a thumbs up or in the chat when you're ready, or at a point you can complete, you can always take it up further time. Wonderful. And yeah, that does feel like the work, this unarmoring of the heart. And when you fall in love, you really feel the depths to which your heart is armored as well. So I think some of us are going through that very intense kind of realization of the depth of the wound, but also the possibility of the whole code being rewritten, which is definitely what I feel is going on, but takes patience for sure. Okay, so I'll read mine.
Alison, can I just say something to that?
Yeah, of course.
So Steve and I have been together for 36 years. And so, last Sunday in the New Human Diplomat, he shared something that really I've been contemplating a lot. And so I think it just plays into this armoring of the heart. And, this time that we had during the holidays, it was a lot of he and I, and it was really deepening into he and I. And what I saw, even after 36 years, just the peeling of the armor of the
Wow.
heart. And there were things that were shared, that had never been shared before. And it was really, really powerful. And so this is just a never-ending journey. That's all I can say. So yeah. So kudos to you guys for doing the new work. I'm on the other end of the almost 4 decades of it.
Yeah, but what's wonderful, isn't it, is because as the cosmic energies shift, whether we've been in long-term relationships or we're in new ones, the deepening, the intimacy, all of these, the new levels of honesty, all of these things are urging to come through. They want to come through so desperately. So yeah. But thank you for also reminding me that you can be that far in and still be having the transformations. Which is good as well, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's a never ending, really. You
Well,
never
it's actually deeper. It's like
yeah.
deepening in, because you're at these different levels, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's like, woof, I never really knew that we could go this deep, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I like the
Okay.
synchronicity of 36 years, and we're working with the squirrel, Jinky 36 today.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
That's why we're all together here. I mean, I just find it so interesting, the resonance of all of our like gifts, really weaving together here. It's just very, very powerful. So thank you for that, Lori. And I love just seeing your softness, Lori, by the way. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great you're looking after horses. I can't think of a better way for you to begin your day. I bet you are so loving to them. Oh,
Yeah, it's like I'm 6 inches from their eyeballs at times, right? It's fascinating. And then you develop relationships with them, and one got wounded the other day, and so now he's kind of left behind a little bit, and he comes over to me and he wants to snuggle and rub his head. And it's fascinating to see the the human connection with them, and the power of them though is a little bit daunting, right? Because they just have to step on you and you're hurt, right? Only a few more days, so we'll be done there on Monday, and it's supposed to be like -40 this week. This weekend. Isn't that insane? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, -39, but -40 sounded better.
yeah, that is insane. Oh, all those animals will need lots of looking after in the cold. Okay, so this is what I wrote. Once upon a time, Squirrel invited me into a journey, and this is how it all started. I was walking through the park on the way to go shopping when this little squirrel stepped out right in front of me. He looked very tame and wanted some nuts from me, which I did not have. My fascination with squirrels started earlier in the year when I heard a walking guide called Scout talk about the special quality of the squirrel. This was on Kristen's New Human Diplomat group. What she said is that the squirrel often falls from trees, and when they do, they have a knack of finding and looking at the safest place to land. As its eyes look, everything, its limbs, tail, and fur all help it land in the right place. It is choiceless. Once the fall has begun, there's no choice but to land on the other side of the quantum leap, safely and gracefully. I had this experience a few years back of falling in love, and because I chose to go with it, found myself without a home, left the town I loved and have lived in for 25 years, and so much of my life changed. It was a quantum leap, or a friend also described it as my emergence from a chrysalis of my compromised life. All along, I've known exactly where I wanted to land, with my beloved, living with him as we are now. This I did do, but energetically, I felt such a great resistance and every panicky fear about being in this house. I realized, even though I had physically landed here, because I was afraid I was not committed, and therefore my landing was going awry. In some mystical way, it is Squirrel who helped me see this, helped me to fully commit to the path I chose, or crash land. That has been a process, rituals to anchor myself and ourselves. And really, the big issue is I am replacing someone who was my friend and Adam's wife. That at times feels very uncomfortable, but also it feels crazy to backpedal because of that uncomfortableness. Patience is required over and over again to move slowly and sensitively through this process of change. I'm intrigued by this role squirrel plays as a mammal in the horizontal realm of consciousness, and also a bridger of heaven and earth as he runs up and down. I recall once being on holiday in a forest in a hot tub, watching the squirrels at sunset circumnavigate the whole place, leaping from tree to tree. What I love about squirrels' being and qualities is the adaptability and agility in moving up and down, circumnavigating. I also like this quality of having locked its eyes on where it wants to land. It knows it has to bend and warp time in that direction. The squirrel who came up to me in the park made a big impression because he was so sweet. His tail shone in the winter sun, and I noticed the squareness of it, and it's translucent in the hairs at the end. The tail seemed in that moment almost like a paddle for a boat, that as it turned and twisted, it could substantially change the direction of the body of the squirrel. It reminded me also of the flaps on an aircraft that have a big effect when the squirrel is in the air. I feel like a squirrel in that I've been very at home in the world of animals. One story my mom tells, when I was about 5 years old, she came home and found I'd found around 50 snails in the garden and lined them up and was happily chatting away to them. We had lots of dogs when I grew up, and they were my main companions and friends. Also, I read a lot of Gerald Durrell books over and over again, so I was very much immersed in the world of animals. Also, I am a human. That has been a harder journey. Growing up in South Africa, I felt very angry about apartheid. I literally hated the police and army. I took many years to soften, to understand how soldiers are manipulated and lose their humanity, how this can happen to all of us in a state of fear and survival. This development of compassion for those who seem most powerful, whom I dislike, has taken a long time, and it's still work in progress. On some level, Squirrel speaks into this, though honestly, I cannot put words on that right now. Ah. Well, it's been really amazing writing and sharing. I wanted to ask actually, because I think only 2 of us here were in the Dream Arc retreat, and the new call is starting on a Wednesday evening. It's probably even too late for you, Laurie, but I'm just wondering, does this time kind of work for you weekly, or would you prefer this to be a monthly thing or fortnightly even? I'm just checking in really about that.
Alison, before we shift from what you said, can I share something?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
I've jumped.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
And you're recording this? Yeah, Alison? You're recording this part?
Oh, yes. Yeah, shall I stop?